Hey, less lethal people. So I want to do a video today. I was having a dialogue with another YouTuber, and his YouTube channel is Scaredy Cat TV. If you don't know who he is, you really must go out there and check out his channel. He's probably one of the best YouTube channels out there for less lethal. And believe it or not, he doesn't know it. I mean, we're not personal friends. Like, we don't chat every day, we don't message, but we go back and forth sometimes on YouTube stuff. And I honestly emulate him. And I looked him because he has such a great mentality. And his channel, along with another guy out there, Air Gunner Reviews, they have really factual information that's no BS. And if you want to really learn and learn the right way, they put so much effort into studies, they put so much effort into statistics, and they give you basically the true facts. They don't, try to pump up things or sugarcoat things. These are guys that less lethal people should be looking to. And if you haven't checked them out already, I can't say enough about them. And I don't get anything from it. If I see something good, like even a launch or something, I put it out there and, I let you guys know. So the dialogue we were having the other day, it got me to thinking about less lethal safety. So I really want to touch on this with you guys. I really think it's important that we really focus on safety in this community, because at the end of the day, we're going to be our worst enemy if we don't. I think it's important, and I'm going to use the S2 because of, its shape and everything like that. I think it's very important that we view these and treat them safety-wise as real firearms. I'm going to explain why I feel that that is the case. First of all, you have guys that are in the less lethal community for several reasons. You have the person who lives in a state or an area where they can't own a real firearm. Then you have a person who may not be able to own a real firearm because of some legal decision that happened in the past, that prevents them from owning one. You also have people that just don't want to own a firearm because they, for, moral reasons or whatever. And then you have a person that has both, such as Air Gunner Reviews and myself, Real Firearms and Less Lethal. And we see the need and also the liability issues of why it is so important to have less lethal. And in some aspects, we gravitate more towards that, but we also see the need for the lethal aspect. Now, I want to really touch upon some of those things and why we need to change our mindset. First of all, if you live in a state that is not very firearm friendly and doesn't allow you to have a firearm or conceal carry it, and you figure, well, I'll just get less lethal, you don't know. There are so many things going on right now in the 2A world, and with different court cases going on. A lot of states now are finding things in favor, and there are certain states where you weren't able to own or carry a gun a few years ago, and now because of the laws changing, and I believe New Jersey is one of them. I believe you can actually get a CCW in New Jersey right now, and it may not be the easiest thing, but it's becoming more and more favorable because of some federal court cases. So you don't know if the reason you only have less lethal is because you live in a state where it's not legal. You don't know what the future is going to have, and you don't know if you're going to move to a state down the road that allows lethal and less lethal. Next, if you're a person who has some sort of past where maybe there was a felony or something, and you feel you can't own a firearm now, well, to give you some good insight, there's a lot of things going on in the federal courts right now, and one of them is the Bruin case and the Bruin decision. And what the Bruin case is, if you're not following along with it, it was a guy, his name was Bruin, who lived in Pennsylvania, and he somehow lied years ago, I think it was like 15 or 20 years ago, on government subsidy paper for, I think it was food stamps or something like that, which is a felony. But it's a nonviolent felony. And that limited him from ever getting a firearm again. Well, this went to court, and it was just found that the government has violated his 2A rights because he's a nonviolent felon. He can't protect himself, and they voted in his favor. Now it's going to a few other court cases, and it looks like it will be where his rights will be restored, and also people that commit nonviolent felonies will be able to possess firearms down the road. So if you think you're a person who just can't own it legally because something, you don't know the laws are changing, and someday you might be able to get into that. If you're a person who is into less lethal, can have lethal, but then maybe decides to get a higher power air gun, such as some of these Ed Leshies, some of these 357 45 caliber AEAs that are out there, and Scott Weaver, Air Gunner Reviews, he does amazing reviews on that stuff. Those are very close to firearm power, and they are not non-lethal. Or I should say not less lethal. They can be they use them for hunting, etc. And you may want to delve into that area at some point and go from less lethal to that as well and have both. So it's very important that from day one we treat these like real firearms, because we build, number one, muscle memory, and number two, habits. And we always want to have good habits, such as not putting our finger on the trigger unless we're ready to shoot the launcher, not pointing it at anything that's living unless we intend on destroying it, not looking down the barrel, and being careful where we aim, that we don't muzzle something such as our hand or another person. It's very important, and we treat it the same. If you don't know firearm safety, I'm not going to get into the whole thing with you. However, it's something you should look into if you're into less lethal, and apply it to this, because you don't know down the road what's going to happen. And a lot of less lethal guys are not following the court cases that are out there. And there's a lot of YouTube channels out there. Another guy, I watch him, he's a California guy. His name is, he's the Armed Scholar. He has a lot of really good legal information on a lot of the new court. He's up to date every day on the court cases that are coming out. He's another good one to watch for that. So, and I don't know these guys personally. I don't get nothing by I just tell you guys, if I see a good product, if I see a good channel, I'm going to tell you and steer you in that direction, because I am big into education. Okay, before I got into the whole private security and the whole, I was always into private security even when I was a teacher, but I was a teacher and I was into education. I taught for 22 years of my life, so I think education is key. Then I got into probation for a little while as a probation officer, and believe it or not, it was very similar to being a teacher. There were, it was just, you're working with people one-on-one mostly. And I stayed with I've always been doing the security for many years, so I am familiar with that aspect. I want everybody to succeed, and I really want this less lethal world to succeed, because it is very, very important. So it's super critical that you guys go out there and educate yourself with firearm safety and apply it to this. I would treat these as if I would a real firearm. Also, you don't know, down the road, you leave something less lethal lying around and the wrong person gets their hands on a kid, a person who's not familiar with any sort of safety, they can hurt themselves accidentally, or they can hurt somebody else accidentally or intentionally. And that can leave you open to legal issues as well. Even as far as storing these, I'm not saying you have to go out and spend $1,000 and get a firearm safe, but for $150, you could get a firearm cabinet, which is great because you can keep lethal and less lethal in there. Like I said, you don't know if you're going to get into the air guns or whatever. And you can also keep your projectiles in. I know I have a safe just for ammo and for projectiles. And in that safe, I have a shelf dedicated just for less lethal projectiles and one dedicated just for chemical projectiles as well. And I have a silicate thing in there that keeps the moisture out. So it's all about safety, and it can never, ever hurt to be safe. It can hurt to not practice safety. So I think it's something that we should definitely ingrain in our head, and it's an aspect that is not talked about enough when it comes to less lethal. And like I said, you don't know where the laws are going and where you're going to be in the future and what you're going to, and also too, some people may, even if they can't own a real firearm now, you may want to get into black powder. And black powder in most places can be owned by anybody. And those of you that don't know what black powder is, you know, you could check out some channels out there that are geared towards black powder revolvers. DK Spencer, he does some great videos on black powder revolvers too. You could find out some information from him. And I used to do it years ago. I don't anymore, just because first of all, I don't have the money to do all these different things. Second of all, I'm the type of guy that has to focus deeply on one or two things. I can't focus on everything because I'll be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And right now, my main passion is the less lethal, and that's what I'm focusing on. So as I get off on a tangent, please consider safety. Hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about safety down the road, and educate yourself not only on the safety, but educate yourself on what's going on out there in the Supreme Court with your rights and with the rights that you may have again, or rights that may be restored to you, or things that are happening. Very important. Check out those channels. A lot of great content. It's better than watching reruns of some sitcom on TV, because at least you'll be learning something. Anyway, have a great night, guys. Stay safe. God bless.